going to be expanding upon that, plus talking about editing and my services and that kind of thing. So picking up on self-publishing in general and why some people don't always see it as a good thing. See, I am a baby scholar. I'm a bit of an academic. I'm pretty much on the verge of completing my PhD at University of Toronto, and one of my supervisors, I have 3 supervisors, all of which, except for one, is who probably didn't disclose, is on the sunshine list, okay, for the province of Ontario. So these are highly accomplished women. And my supervisor, I will name her, Dr. Donna Kakonge, because she's a very forward-looking academic at she had told me that actually, even in academia, self-publishing is gaining more credibility. And even academics are starting to self-publish nowadays. So it is actually gaining credibility. Part of the reasons why self-publishing wasn't always respected in the past is the issue of peer review. That's the main issue, peer review. So it's the idea that it has not necessarily been assessed or looked at by anybody except for the person who's produced the product, right, the book, right? So, and I mean, if that is not the case, then it will always be respected. The BBC has self-published. Major journalists, major places have self-published. I actually started self-publishing in 2006 and started with Lulu, okay? The book that I had come out in 2012, Had to Talk to Crazy People, is now in the Toronto Public Library. Now, I'd sent it to Life Rattle Press, which was a publishing place that did take it on, and a traditional publisher, and yes, dealing with traditional publishers, especially small houses, are dealing with an overflow of too many books, because there are a lot of great writers out there, and I'm sure all of them are in this room today. So, I mean, that's the problem, right? So when you don't have enough staff to deal with the amount of work that gets done, sometimes your contract is delivered to you the day of your book launch, and your book launch doesn't happen with your traditional publishers there, right? So this is why my book, How to Talk to Crazy People, was actually self-published the next day, but I had already self-published 43 books prior to that. So that was about my 44th book that I self-published. And then I just came out with my 45th self-published book this past week, 3/4, okay? So now, some of the things I do in terms of covers, like getting covers done, and then also self-publishing, just to backtrack a little bit, self-publishing has been so great for me in so many ways, especially as somebody who wanted to get into academia, and I could use those things as publications, right? So, and it's been, I mean, during the time, this 4 years, it'll be by the time I complete, of my PhD, I've written 4 books, including my dissertation, right? So, and I'm paid to go to school, okay? So it's not bad. And the average writer makes about $12,000 a year, okay? So I'll get into money right away, okay? Now, I'll say that for me, I've sold almost 2,000 books since 2006. Okay, so over this time period, so we're looking at like what, a 7-year time period, I've sold about 2,000 books, right? So that's an average of about 300 a year. When How to Talk to Crazy People came out, it jumped. How to Talk to Crazy People sold, so far, sold 500 books. I've been able to get it into Indigo, right? I've been able to go to Mad Pride. I've been at Indigo Eaton Center twice. I've been at Indigo Mount Sinai, because Mount Sinai Hospital, of course, would be interested in a book that deals with healthcare. So they kept copies there. I sold 15 copies so far that I know of, and 10 on the day that I was there. I've also written a book called How to Write Creative Nonfiction, so it's easy to get into Indigo. I've talked about those kind of things. You just speak to the special events manager. You can get into Indigo. A lot of self-published authors can do that. They can't always keep your book on their shelves, though, because they have tons of other books, right? I've also been at Indigo Bay and Bloor, and I'm trying to get into the Coles at Fairview Mall, because I grew up partially in Scarborough, as well as the one in Etobicoke, the new one in Etobicoke, and trying to get into that one too. But the Toronto Public Library was a really big push to try and get in there. And the thing is they, they're used to usually dealing with publishers, and they don't always see self-publishers as publishers. But if you speak to them nicely and know who to email and who to call, they deal with you beautifully, right? It's the fourth best library in North America, right? And that's for a reason. They know how to be professional. Okay, so it's it actually with some patience, and it does take about, say, 3 months. You know, so now I'm trying to get 3/4 in there. I'm trying to get how to write creative nonfiction in there. So like other books I've written, like they're okay, right? So we got to be realistic and think what's going to get in, right? What's going to get in. Now the very first time, even though I started self-publishing in 2006 with Lulu, I actually really first self-published in 1999. And that's when I completed my master's degree at Concordia University in Montreal. And I did my master's on the politics of black hair. So I went to a publisher similar to what Jessica did, and I got 5 copies published. Okay, so I can't remember how much it cost me, maybe no more than $200, right? No more, it probably was 150, even 100 or something. And to get it probably was 100. I sold each for $50. I went around to the hair salons and I sold 3. Okay, so I know I made a little bit of a profit. So that's actually the first time I self-published. Then I stumbled across Lulu. When I came across Lulu, it was a nice man who just contacted me because he liked my website, and then when I went on his website, I saw one of those tiny little boxes that Google used to have as ads on the website. I clicked through, and there was a Lulu. I could, you know, and that's how I discovered it. I thought, you can publish a book for free? Gotta be a lie. And every single publisher will try these print-on-demand places, will try to get money from you. Every single one, you know, we'll do this for you, we'll make a cover, we'll do this, we'll do that, right? So I'm not saying Lulu is like without sin, they're not, right? So, but the point is, you just got to be smart. It's not so much like pretty much everything has a scam to it in the publishing business, okay? So in the world, right? So even a little girl, your daughter could be trying to scam you out of buying too much candy at the store, right? So it's a benign scam, but a scam nonetheless, right? So but the point is that you just got to choose to ignore these things, right? You don't go for the big Cadillac of spending $2,000 on a book, where if you're lucky, you'll make $5,000. If you're lucky. And that's with a lot of hustling. A lot of hustling. There's the $5,000 that I've made on my books so far, a lot of hustling. Standing in the parking lot of Oisey, sticking the book in people's faces to sell them, right? Always keeping it in the trunk of my car. Thankful that I spend $10,000 a year on that car because it's actually helping me sell books. You know, because how are you going to get books on a bus? Right? You're going to bring a buggy on a bus and go down to Indigo with your books? Right? You'll probably lose half of them on the way. Right? So actually, this entire thing of selling books is not for the poor. And books are a decadent thing. I already know you all are a pretty good class. I already know. Because books are decadent. Because think about it. You have $20 and you're dirt poor. You're going to buy a book, you're going to buy food. Right? You're dirt poor. It's for the decadent. Books are decadent. Right? But it's hard. Because when you're printing the books, and it costs a minimum of, say, $7 to print a book that's 166 odd pages, right? How are you going to justify selling that for $10 so you get a $3 profit on a manuscript that could have taken you since the 90s, right? And writing, just like they say on the WordPress blog, you know, so, and I have a magazine with like more than 200,000, well, 260, almost close to 270,000 unique visitors and more than 1,000 followers. And that's a labor of love that I'm still trying to get some money from. But I mean, that thing, like, you know, I mean, it's great because they got these great little slogans, and they say writing is one of the few jobs in the world where people are not surprised if you don't make money. Okay? They're not surprised if you don't make money, and it's a job. They know it's a job, but they will not harass you because you haven't been making money. Okay, so definitely. The one thing also I'll add is that I probably, since 2006 that I've been doing this seriously, made under anywhere between say $8,000 to $10,000 in total. In total. It's not a get-rich scheme. Okay, so number one, you got to do it because you love it. Okay, as simple as that. And you got to do it part-time. Because J.K. Rowling, okay, Stephen King, Danielle Steele, I can name a whole bunch of them, right? Charles Dickens' days are done. People don't read like that anymore. They just don't, right? But they do read, right? They just don't read like that, right? So too much other competition. Even apps are competition to books, right? And there's an entire generation of young people that would rather read a comic book than read a literary book, you know, and no disrespect to that either, right? So, but those are the realities, right? I mean, even comic books are suffering, even though Batman is a huge, was a huge film, right? So, and so another thing I'll add too is that my book, How to Talk to Crazy People, should be probably a movie in about the next 10 years. I got somebody interested in that. Now, say for example, you're giving your rights. The Writers Union of Canada, actually, that deals with filmmakers and screenwriters and people like that and writers, is actually starting to accept self-publishers. That's news, okay, for all of you. They're starting to accept self-publishers as legitimate. And that motion should pass eventually. I will be actually receiving the news. I'll make sure I put it up on my magazine. And as well, if you do, you should always maintain copyright, okay? Jessica went through a lot of information, so I don't have to go into the nitty-gritty details. Always maintain copyright. Do not ever, ever, ever give up copyright. Okay, I'm also a law student. Do not ever give up your copyright, okay? So, but if you are allowing somebody else to do something with your book, like a movie, then you can expect to make about $5,000 minimum. Okay? So that's just for allowing them. But again, that's not a lot of money. It's not. Right? How long can that pay mortgage? How long can that pay rent? Right? Okay? So how long can that pay car payments? Not long. Okay? That can just about get you a down payment on a Volkswagen. Okay? So, and then, and again, this is all decadent stuff, right? There are people that don't even eat, right? So then the other things is I teach a self-publishing around the world class at the University of Toronto, okay? And it's still not too late. That if I was telling this lovely gentleman over here, this lovely sir over here, who's interested, he's a photographer, who's interested in taking a class, that if he can find 3 other people, minimum 4 or 5 would be great to get me up to my pay scale, then the class could still even happen. It's possible it could, but I got to be able to go to my boss with the goods, right? So yeah, so it could happen. It's $599, $600. So, and if you happen to be a graduate of UT that's graduated within a reasonable amount of time, then it's free. So, like, you get to do it for free. You can take a School of Continuing Studies course for free. So if you know of anyone, please spread the word, okay? And I would really appreciate that. But regardless of that, we're still also trying to get people in for the freelance broadcast writing class that's happening in January. So, and that's still slated, okay? So, and what else? Let's see. I am an editor. I'm a member of the Editors Association of Canada. And so actually taking the course is good because I require 20 pages a week. You know, within the course you should be able to complete a book. One of my former students is actually going to be at Indigo on November 9th with a group of us from the School of Continuing Studies, and also Cynthia Reyes, who has a really good book called A Good Home. And we're going to be doing a writing workshop there, so you're all welcome to be there at Bay and Bloor. And then on October 12th, I'll be at Indigo at Richmond and John. and selling How to Talk to Crazy People, as well as 3/4, my new book, and How to Write Creative Nonfiction. Now, printing is an interesting thing, and Jessica, I'd love to discuss more with you about who your printer is, because I'm having some printer problems. And so, especially with this 3/4 book for some reason, and Lulu does have a tendency to kind of print a little bit too low to the top of the margin, so, and on every single page, and so I'm kind of looking for a bit more perfection, bump it up, you know. And so I'd definitely like to talk to you about that. And anyways, 3/4 I have. It's the beginning of these copies I have, because I made the mistake of ordering too many of a flawed copy. But how I compensated it with the advice of a very, very good friend of mine I have a date with tonight, he told me I should get a magnifying glass. You know, so because the print is very small, right? So a magnifying glass, right? So, and you can actually, give that for free, and then it comes with the book, right? So, and so I bought them at the dollar store. So if you want 3/4, you get a magnifying glass for free. Okay, and it's a big one. It's like one of them Sherlock Holmes ones. So,
That's a cute idea.
Yeah. It was a good idea. So, what else? So my books, first of all, my books are across the street in my car, right? So, because I'm so used to lugging them that I'm getting tired of it, and my bag is even just heavy. So, how many of you think you would be interested in buying How to Talk to Crazy People? I know money is tight, so, yes, thank you, Jessica. Okay, so, and how many of you think you'd be interested in buying 3/4?
What is 3/4 about?
3/4 is it's a series of short stories, and it goes everywhere from it's a creative nonfiction, and it's just a series really of interesting stories. It's everything from school situations of racism to it does deal with racism, but it's also triumphing that, right? And from a Canadian perspective, of course, from an African Canadian perspective, or African Canadian Caribbean perspective, the second half it takes place in South Africa, actually. And so that's it is a good book. So, and it's got reviews from Laura Lush, who's a former Governor General Award nominee, and Cynthia Reyes, who wrote A Good Home, and she's a communications expert that was an executive at CBC, as well as Teresa Madalena Long, who is a broadcaster and has her own company in broadcasting.
What's How to Talk to Crazy People? What's that about?
That's about my journey with mental illness during my 20s. And I can honestly say that part of the reason probably why I did go through that is because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, truly in my heart. So because I think it's absolutely fine if you have a job as a dishwasher in the day, but you're painting by night, right? You know what I mean? Nothing's wrong with that, right? So, but I think it is pretty important that regardless of what you do with your day job, that you're doing, you're doing your heart's desire. And I always try to make sure I support other people's efforts in doing their soul work, so to speak. So that's why I wanted to make sure I bought this. So,